We're going to learn the Prioritz, Pasha Shemois, about Mitzrayim. So we learn in our history about this interaction between the human and the divine, and how there's a continuous relationship, a continuous conversation between the different sides in order to direct creation. And this didn't only happen in the past, it's just that in the past, sometimes when there were humans that were on the right level, they had the right capacity, sometimes there would actually be alignment between the sides. This is what makes it so special. The conversation is always happening. We are doing this. We're doing exactly what they were doing. We're directing reality just like they were. And yet, at some point, there was a time when there could actually be coordination between the sides, and then good things happened on this planet. It was obvious that there is an intent for this design that surpasses all our expectations. That what's good about reality is not something that a human being can create or invent or come up with or change. But what's good about reality is the very essence of its existence and the way that it was designed to be by the perfect one. And so this becomes clear when there's prophecy. Prophecy means that there's an alignment between the human and the divine portion that runs the human. What does it mean it runs the human? It means it created a certain way, a certain order of how the soul operates and how manifestation happens. And according to that process, the human is going to direct his affairs. And so who is directing the human? The design of that process is directing the human. To the extent the human knows how to align and to enhance the power of that design, then he gains more access, and life is aligned with the intelligence that creates life. And to the extent that he loses that capacity, to the extent that he no longer is aligned with the way that he was designed to be, then he loses capacity, and then he can't understand his predicament. He can't understand how to make a situation better. He's running in loops. And so we're always directing. The question is, what are we directing? Now, we're not directing so amazingly, and so life on this planet doesn't feel so amazing. And so there we had prophecy. Prophecy means that there was access to the higher dimensions so that the lower dimensions can understand what's happening to them. And the higher dimensions can communicate what should we produce in the lower dimensions that will assist the divine plan. And so here, Moshe is getting a message that he should be a messenger to go speak to Pharaoh. And now, on the deeper level, all this is taking place within a human being as a human being is being liberated from his own illusion. The illusion that is within man, when man misunderstands his predicament, is called paro. And the das, the awareness that comes to liberate man, is called Moshe. And so Moshe comes to paro. That's always the first step in redemption, is that Moshe comes to paro and says, let my people go. You've been running here for long enough. it's time for new management. And this relates to the process of the liberation of the soul, so that it can reign free in the body. The Bnei Yisrael are all the different parts, all the spirits that reside in the organs. And they are in Mitzrayim because leadership, the speech, the awareness, the understanding, the beliefs are in exile. They're not accurate. And now Moshe comes to Paro and says, let my people go. And so then Moshe goes to Paro, and Paro resists. He says, why would I do that? I've been in charge here for as long as I can remember. I'm not going anywhere. And then Moshe goes back to the intelligence, the awareness that became aware, and he said, okay, I'm going to confront Paro. And I confronted Paro. He's not budging. And so he says, why did you send me? This is where it says, Vayeshav Moshe el Hashem, Vayemer Adonai lama zeh shlachtoni. He returns to the divine, he returns to the intelligence that revealed his will to him, and he says, what is going on? You made things worse. You didn't help with what you were saying. He says, what is it your problem that I made things worse? I wanted to make things worse, I made it worse. It's yours to try to argue with me about? So he says, why did you send me? Like, what do you want from me? I want to make things better for them. And so I made myself available because I want to make things better. Now you send me things that are worse. Why send me? You want to make things worse? Make things worse. Why are you using me in order to do it? So he says, the first thing we learn from here is, don't get involved in other people's business. Don't ask questions from the universe on things that you don't understand. Because you have enough to be worried about between you and the universe, and what is going on in the relationship, and are you helping or hurting the situation. Don't get involved in the politics of things, because things are deep and complicated. You're just going to get lost. And so it says, that's a simple thing that you can learn from this. So even Moshe Rabbeinu, that we know he cared, he really cared about the people. He wasn't just concerned that it's not going good for them. It was in his heart. He was willing to give himself for them. His soul was the soul of the collective. His soul came from the root of the hierarchy of souls. It included all the other souls in it. He still says, what is it for you to come and argue with me about what I do? You're going to tell me about what to do with my sons and with my handiwork? I created it. I'm doing with it what I need to do. What is it yours to come and argue with me about? It's like someone who gets involved in a conflict that's not his. The truth is, Moshe was very humble. So it wasn't that he was trying to get involved and that he thought that he can say something that's not already known. The same place you find his greatness, you will find also his humility. It says, I'm going to send you, and you're going to be the messenger to take the people out. It's not mine to do. Send the one that needs to be sent, meaning I don't feel qualified. So we see his humility, that even while he was chosen for the highest position in the world, to be the prophet that is the teacher of all the prophets, he doesn't feel himself like he is developed enough to represent what he is supposed to represent. Moshe felt too humble, too small, that he will be able to awaken in the people the belief that they need. Because it's known, you can't get liberation, you can't get to redemption unless there is an assistance from below. An assistance from below. This is a Kabbalistic expression that means that the Shekhinah, the part of Creator that is in creation, is the one that needs to awaken the desire for liberation. That the way that it works in the higher realms is that the female awakens desire in the male, and then the male comes forth. And so in order for the male to come forth to liberate us, the female has to awaken desire. Awakening desire means that the people down here are going to change their beliefs. They're going to awaken a belief in their heart. This is how we invite, this is how we show interest in the masculine energy that's the liberator. And so he says, you can't get to liberation, to redemption, without Isserisa de la Sata, without an awakening from below. So it says that liberation requires belief. Who is going to be the ultimate liberator? The one who is going to make the people believe. And this is why when it comes to liberation, it's all about belief. Everyone wants to steal beliefs. Even the fake liberators, what are they working on? They're trying to garner beliefs. This is their power, is how many beliefs of people can they get? This is what the other faiths took on as spreading their belief. They would do it by sword, they would do it through wars, to spread their belief that more humans should believe in their version of events, in their liberation, in their truth. Because the power of belief is the power of the soul to choose. And so the one who is going to be the real liberator, how is he going to do it? He is going to make the people believe the real beliefs. The ones who are trying to steal beliefs, they don't give the real beliefs. All they want is you should believe in them. They don't care what you believe. They're not trying to liberate the soul and align it with the truth. All they want to do is take their belief. The same goes for any type of leadership. Any type of leadership is spiritual, and any type of spiritual power relates to beliefs. In politics, it's beliefs. In religion, it's beliefs. In religion, it's the most dangerous kind of beliefs. And if they're not concerned what you believe, all they want is to take your belief. This is the essence of idol worship. Is that the beliefs have been stolen by something, by some other agenda. And therefore, there is no longer a human intelligence that's in charge of this creature. Now there is a belief, a foreign belief, that's in charge of the creature. The thoughts, the speech, and the action that are going to come forth are all going to testify to the nature of this belief. Says, the whole concept of exile just means that there is a lack of accurate belief because it's been forgotten. That's what exile means. That's why in a few generations of exile, the wisdom gets lost very quickly, because in exile, they can't create the biology that can contain the wisdom. They can't create the biology that can believe these truths. And so in exile, we lose wisdom very quickly. Every generation is losing more until it's completely lost, until we have no access to the real way these words were supposed to feel. And then the belief, even if we say the words, are no longer those beliefs biologically. They no longer have that effect. They no longer invite those blessings. And so exile means a lack of proper belief. Then what do? We look around for the patterns and we try to figure out what life is based on the nature that we see outside. We don't have access to the soul. We don't have access to the spiritual side of life. We have access just to the physical. We try to negotiate so that we can have more of the physical world between the people. This is the nature of exile. Like is known from Golus Mitzrayim that their souls were in the depths of the husks, in the depths of the peels, in the depths of the bitter beliefs that are not aligned with the true nature of what is taking place, because they were enslaved. They were thinking like slaves. A human being was not created to be a slave. The belief of a slave will never align with the nature of how we were created to be. We were created to be independent. We were created to be directed from within by this master compilation of trillions of cells. And so the moment that there is some other force that's in charge, then the beliefs are for sure not going to be accurate. And so they were in Memtes Sharatimah, they were in 49 out of the 50 possible levels of wrong belief, they were in 49 of them. Meaning they completely forgot what it means to be them. They completely forgot what Yakov Avinu knew. What Yaakov Avinu knew and gave his life for, they no longer had access to. If they would have passed one other layer, they never would have been able to realize the truth ever again. Biologically, it would be impossible. The truth and them would be a complete contradiction. And this was before the Torah. If we were where we are now, without the Torah, we would be in that condition where it wouldn't be fixable. No matter what you would tell a person, he wouldn't be able to understand what his relationship with reality is. How can he return to the way that he was meant to be? They were in the depth that is at the very end of how far you can go, and they wouldn't have been able to come out because they were so deep, unless they will turn over from one end to the other. And to go from 49 gates of impurity to 50 gates of understanding. Understanding is repentance. Repentance is to return to the nature of how things really are, is to have the accurate beliefs. Shua Gila Shleima. Chamishim Sharabino is a Gula Shleima. It means the soul has been completely redeemed from all its illusions. And the truth is now justified in that individual. According to his experience, life makes sense that it was created to be. And so that means he's been completely liberated from any illusions. Because life is justified to be. It's just our mind that's completely lost access to that place where things are justified the way that they are. And so biologically, we don't have it. We don't have access to that experience. We can just know about it. We can know through wisdom that something has been manipulated, and therefore what we are experiencing is not our real experience of who we are. And then we could learn how to believe in order to regain access to who we are. And so to go to the 50 gates of understanding, this is called Gula Shlema, complete redemption, Sheyamini B'Shem L'Daso, so that they should know what they're interacting with. When there'll be a Dardea, there'll be a generation of accurate knowledge, of experiential knowledge, that they will know that there is a will that is creating them, not intellectually, but they will experience that will. Then they will be able to succeed for redemption. This is going to be the symbol, this is going to be the sign that they are ready for redemption. But when you will take them out of the condition that they're in, then you will worship the divine on this mountain. And so the sign is that leaving Egypt and worshiping the divine are one and the same. As long as we're in Egypt, we can't worship the divine. If we leave Egypt, then the divine becomes available for worship. Because Egypt means the conditions, the biological conditions that don't allow us access to the truth. והנה משה רבינו עליו השלום שייחל להכניס בדביר דברי יועצן הרנב להכניסם בליבם ומאמין על תכליסס לשיר בנפשם וגוי לשלפש שלא ימחזיק עצמי כלום. Moshe didn't believe that he has the power to make them believe. He didn't believe that his words could open up the desire in their heart so that they can awaken that belief within them until it becomes real. And this is what was necessary. What does it require that you should be able to open in people's hearts this belief? It requires that you are completely serious about what you're talking about. You need to have Yiras Shamayim. You need to recognize the intensity of the subject. And then if you will speak about it with the right intensity, then the people's hearts will react because they will recognize the authenticity of what's being said. And so Moshe Rabbeinu, because he didn't believe in himself as a person who has perfected himself enough, so when he was offered this mission, he felt that he wasn't qualified for the mission. He felt that he doesn't have the power to accomplish the mission. He didn't feel that he understood the seriousness of what he is saying, so that people will take him seriously. What does it mean, Yiras Shamayim, to take it seriously enough? It means to be completely aligned with the higher will, that you have no other will. Any other will that you might have that somehow contradicts the higher will, it shows that you still think this is some kind of a joke. You haven't understood the seriousness of the higher will and how seriously he wants to make things right over here. And so you say, yeah, I want your will, but I also want a cookie. And so that cookie just shows that no, you don't get it. You don't understand what we're dealing with over here. And so the Yiras Shamayim means that you're completely aligned with his will. So it says Yiras Shamayim. He says there's two things over here. Yira means that he's completely aligned with the will. He would never have any other will that might form in him. And Shamayim means that he loves the fact that it is so. And so it's not because he feels compelled and therefore he says, okay, I have to nullify myself, I have no choice. No, he is so in love with what he knows about the greater will that he has no incentive to try to form any other will. Because this will is so sweet for him, it takes precedence over all the other possibilities. So when he has annihilated all his attributes towards the physical, and he aligns them with the greater will, he only wants what the greater will wants, then the sound of the divine will come through in him. Because now there is nothing that stands between them. As long as there was a conflict between the wills, then the sound of the divine came through by echo, not clear, conflicted. But when he aligns the will with the divine, he comes through as the divine. There's nothing else there. And therefore, idvarav nishmo, and then the things that he says have an impact on the heart. So even a person who does have this attribute, and he does take reality seriously, and he does want only what the divine wants, and he wants it out of love, still, in the time when he is in that, when his heart is aligned with that, and he's feeling that, in that time his words will be heard. But that same person, when he is in a different mood, then the words will not have the same impact. Moshe Rabbeinu, he would not ask for anything from the divine as a reward. He would always ask for a gift of grace, because he knows who he's interacting with. He knows so deeply the greatness of the one that he's approaching. He's the infinite one, and they're all against him like nothing at all. Even the highest sphere, even the beginning of the world of Atzilus, that we can't even talk about and we can't perceive in any way, yet it's like darkness compared to the one who is dressed up in it, who is called the source of all sources, the root of all roots. So how can he believe that he is close enough to that, and therefore his words will be heard? He's dealing with the absolute. He's never close enough to it. And so how can he know what type of impact it's going to have on the people? And so he didn't believe that he has this power. If he comes to them and he doesn't believe it enough, and therefore he's not saying it with the right conviction, it's not enough that he's not going to help anything. So he's going to distract them to his lack of belief. If he says the words but he doesn't really believe them, not only is he not going to help them, but he's going to confuse them. He's going to create concepts in them that are going to result in more damage, in more distance, in more distorted beliefs. So even the best words, if it's not said from the right heart, then those words can create the wrong reactions in the hearts. They can create people feeling that their ego is getting more powerful. The wrong part of the person could eat the words. The part of the person that is the individual, where he's maybe even against the collective, that part might eat the words when it's not said from the right place in the heart. Or a false belief can form because it doesn't have the right biological footprint. It's not doing the right maneuver within the body, and therefore, even though the words are accurate, the result is a false belief. This is the way that we are losing our children to false beliefs, is that even though the teacher might say the right words, the heart of the teacher is not activated accurately, and so the child is receiving a false belief. And that causes increased resistance. Instead of life being sweet to life, the life that lives within the body resists the life that's being given to it because of the wrong beliefs. And now the wrong beliefs are causing a conflict between creator and creation. It's not really a conflict between creator and creation. It's a conflict within creation of how creation imagines creator. And so the conflict is in the human imagination. The two sides of the conflict is how the human imagines creator and how the human imagines self. והנה אחר שהכריח הקדוש ברוך הוא למשה ודיבר עליהם, after הקדוש ברוך הוא forced Moshe to speak, וידוסם אבירים לצוב מטריזן כנגד, ידוסם אבירים came, and they were taunting him, כפרש רש"י זה על המילים ניצובים לקרוסם, that they came in order to give Moshe a hard time. They didn't appreciate that he came to liberate the people. ותולה משה רבנו על השם החסר בעצמו. Moshe Rabbeinu believed that he is the reason why things didn't work out. Because he didn't speak in the right way from a place in the heart that's authentic enough. Therefore, in their heart woke up a resistance to what he was saying. Because his heart wasn't real enough, so they were resisting what he was saying. So he was blaming himself for the resistance. He says, why did you give them evil? And so the simple way of learning it means, why did you give them suffering? But he says, according to how he's explaining now Moshe's intentions, he said, that you invested in them more evil. You injected in them more evil. How did I inject in them more evil? Because you sent me. You sent me. I don't have the heart that's pure enough to speak to them. And so my words made them even more distant from your accurate belief. Hashem Yisbarach answered him, After Tira Perish, Ariuiva is Galas Tzricha Lisa de Snagdis, Ibulabo Chain and Nicker. Kidim said the Bris Oilam Chain, Vayichbad Leif Parliament to Sapper Machine Persim Nisa. He says, now you'll see what was my intention when I caused things to get worse after you spoke. Why? Because the goal is to create a belief that's deep, that's solid, that's meaningful. And the way that that belief gets created is only through a strong resistance. If the belief is going to spread and there isn't going to be a conquering of a resistance, that belief is not going to be deeply inserted into the awareness. But when there is resistance, this raises the interest of the imagination. The imagination becomes even more activated and more invested in the outcome of what's going to happen. And then after great resistance, if the accurate belief proves itself, then it gets established. Then it becomes deeply ingrained biologically so that the organism will never forget. And so this is what we see constantly in the cycles of life, is that when a message is sent to humanity, it will come through two sides going up against each other, and they keep rising and rising until there's tremendous resistance, there's huge tension, and then one side takes the other apart, and then there is a new understanding in humanity. And so this is the cycle of life. This is how things come into manifestation. This is the nature of biology, of how to establish realities in the human kingdom. This is what we are experiencing now in the world, where we see forces going up against each other and making a lot of noise, causing a lot of damage, a lot of death and destruction. And this is to serve a greater purpose. This is to establish a deeper truth. This is to cause a shift in the beliefs of humanity from where all of their reality comes forth. And so this is changing the guard. This is changing the angels that are in charge of manifesting reality. How do we change the angels? Because we are shifting human beliefs. We shift the human beliefs, the biology is shifting. The forces that are in charge are shifting. The interpretations of humanity are shifting. The collective emotions, the interaction between heaven and earth, it's all changing, it's all shifting based on the beliefs. And so when there's big commotion, there's big change in belief. There's big change in belief, there's big change in the spirit of reality, in the nature of our experience, in the way that we interact with the Absolute. And so this holiday, this Chag that's coming, is a Chag that's about belief. This is the beginning of the belief when it was established, and it was established through a lot of noise. And the goal of the noise was so that not only does the intelligence participate in the reality and the magnitude of it, but also the imagination participates. And so this holiday is about bringing the belief all the way to the imagination, not just in intelligence, but in celebration. This is why we have commandments. This is why we have physical actions. This is why we have rituals. They're all to bring the belief all the way to the imagination. For the intelligence to believe, we wouldn't need any of that. This is why the Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, Talmud Torah is for the intelligence. So it's against all the mitzvahs. All the mitzvahs are for the imagination. This is why Talmud Torah represents Creator, which is intelligence, and the mitzvahs represent the Shechina, which is the biological, which is run by the imagination. And so this Chag is a celebration of the belief. It's not just the belief that we say the words, it's knowing how to believe. It's understanding the power of belief. We're celebrating that we know the importance of belief, and that we have a wisdom established in order to direct the belief, in order to awaken the accurate belief, in order to align us with the right belief. This is why we have Kriyashma. We say Kriyashma every day, every morning and every night. We say that there's only one, and we're establishing a relationship with that belief. And we put it on our doorstep, and we put it on our heads and on our arms, so that we enforce the belief. All the actions are there to enforce the belief. And this is the root. It comes back to Yetzias Mitzrayim, the establishment of the belief that a human directs the affairs of this planet through prophecy. And when there's no prophecy, a human directs the affairs of this planet through foolishness. Then the planet seems foolish. It's being run by foolish people. It is foolish. It's not a mistake. But it's not the design that's foolish, it's the people that are foolish. They're so foolish, they don't even realize that there's a way to do it right. They don't realize what they're losing out on. They don't realize that it's their fallen beliefs that cause them to have such a miserable existence, and therefore they're giving out their misery by causing the world to be different than it was designed to be in conflict with the nature of the will that's creating it. And so therefore this is also the celebration of liberation. Zman Chereseinu. Because it's the celebration of belief, it's the celebration of liberation. The celebration of belief and the celebration of liberation are the same celebration. That when the belief is accurate, the soul gets liberated. This is at the root of exile, this is at the root of liberation. So may this be the year when we know how to believe, and then we get to liberate the divine that has been waiting for this planet to shine ever since it went dark thousands of years ago. And this is going to result in a change in the soul of humanity, in the soul of the earth, in the soul of the solar system, in the soul of the galaxy, that has never been seen before. Even when all these grand miracles were taking place, the glory of the divine was not revealed like it's going to be revealed when we learn how to believe. May this be the year.